What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name is Michael Roman. Now, one of the very first videos we ever did here at the channel, and literally over 2 years ago, was an expose outlining everything that needed to happen in order for Wolverine to face off against the Hulk in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, remember, this would have been 2018, long before there were even rumors or the actuality of the rights bouncing back from Fox to Marvel Studios and Disney, and now we're in a very, very different place, with Mark Ruffalo's Hulk still in the MCU for now, and the X-Men on the horizon. A brand new report and headline today that goes ahead and re-reports something that was debunked and all but gone months ago: a Hulk vs. Wolverine movie in production. And what's more than that Marvel Studios has in fact reacquired the rights to the Hulk. Even though Mark Ruffalo said just months ago this wasn't true, the article and source acknowledges that and insists that it is. We're going to break down this most recent headline and then make sure to chronicle the two different reports of just how Marvel Studios plans to use the Hulk and Wolverine in an upcoming movie. There's one industry insider and friend of the channel who has a different take, and it's probably more likely the case that the staging for this famous battle actually revolves around the introduction of one mutant and certain X-Men, Wolverine, and his first solo outing in the MCU. Either way, we're going to break it all down, but first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We're giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, as well as a whole slew of other Marvel related stuff, including a limited edition Infinity Saga box set. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and if you want, stick around to the end of the video. We'll get into all the giveaway stuff again there. So as I mentioned moments ago in the prologue that we were going to do some light chronicling, that's because this story's gotten a little complicated since it was first reported earlier this year. It all starts on January 6th of 2020, as reported by BGR, that the rights for Hulk were reacquired by Marvel Studios, freeing them up to finally do another solo Hulk film, and the first one that would include Mark Ruffalo as the lead, since he first joined the Avengers, cast by Joss Whedon in Avengers 1 almost a full decade ago. Now, this has been since debunked by, well, Mark Ruffalo himself, who said in an interview that's not quite as old that as far as he knew, this wasn't the case, and that while he had met with Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige to discuss possibilities for the Hulk, this wasn't one of them. But that was a rather old interview, so let's go ahead and hold that thought and get back to the article itself that says, according to sources, the same ones who, quote, told them about She-Hulk being a Disney Plus series and Justice League becoming a dark series for HBO Max, both of which have been confirmed at this point, that Marvel did indeed get the rights back for Hulk a couple of months ago when it was rumored. Even though it was denied, it was indeed true. And more than that, that the Hulk vs. Wolverine movie that's been rumored by other industry insiders, as we also mentioned in the prologue, is also now back on the table in its earliest stages of pre-production and development over for the MCU. Now, for a little contextualization about that industry insider report, it's coming from friend of the channel Mikey Sutton, who was pretty specific about what he meant when he leaked this. This Hulk vs. Wolverine film would rather be under the guise of a solo Wolverine movie, because indeed they didn't have the rights back from Marvel. Now, while this new report may update the situation just a little bit, the fact remains, and as I've maintained since the beginning, as per Mikey Sutton's contention, that they were never ever going to release a Hulk vs. Wolverine Marvel Studios title. And guys, let's be real, does that sound like the title of a movie that Marvel Studios would put out? Of course not. More likely the case, and as this is referred to as a Hulk vs. Wolverine film, it's simply a film, a solo outing for one of them, either the next installment for the Hulk or the first solo franchise movie in the MCU for Wolverine, and them fighting would just take place in the film, which A, makes a lot more sense because it's not a premise that Marvel Studios or really any movie could revolve around for a full hour and a half or 2 hours, and B, because of something Mark Ruffalo said and real recently. Now listen, he's been asked more than a couple of times this year in interviews, even at Chicago's Comic-Con, what he'd most like to see for the next iteration of the Hulk. The first couple of answers, well, were just a little bizarre, including that clip during Chicago's Comic-Con where he yells out that we want more Professor Hulk to an audience that really doesn't mirror the sentiment, until real recently when asked, he went ahead and included, or maybe teaming up with the Hulk. Now, it's unclear whether he's met with Marvel Studios in the interim for those two answers, but man, saying you'd like to see more Professor Hulk and then all of a sudden admitting that you'd like to see him team up with Wolverine is just a little curious, considering he had never mentioned that in any of the months prior. And by the way, Mark Ruffalo, you're not slick. All of a sudden reports that Hulk vs. Wolverine could actually happen and be back on the table. Now all of a sudden you're bringing that up, and with his rather public track record record of not being able to keep anything a secret, you gotta admit the timing on these two things is just a little curious, but regardless, pretty much none of it matters, and that's the reason that the first thing we brought up in this video was our expose all the way back in 2018. One of our main contentions during that article, the same as I'll argue here, is that Marvel Studios has always had a penchant, especially in those first two Avengers movies, for making sure to do all of the classic matchups, Avengers versus Avengers, and every Avenger versus the villain, and that's a tradition that they've kept throughout the movies. You always get to see everybody square off in the classic comic trope of who would beat who. When it comes to Hulk vs. Wolverine, there's not too many more classic matchups, and as we said in that video, if Marvel could ever indeed get the rights back to Wolverine, that this would be one of the first classic matchups they'd be sure to frame on the silver screen, not just because it's never been done before, but more specifically because of how iconic this matchup is, what it would mean to the fans, and of course doing right by the comic book origin of Wolverine first showing up in Hulk 180 and then on the cover of Hulk 181. Now listen, back in that video, again in 2018, we outlined a ton of boxes that would need to get checked in order for this to take place. And here we are 2 years later, and almost every box has a check mark in it. We're almost there. That's why this is not a surprising report, and even if we don't hear about it in the next upcoming Marvel Phase 4 announcements or the beginning of Marvel Phase 5, trust me, this is something that Marvel is back pocketing 100%. The only last box that needs to be checked at this point is for them to figure out when they want to introduce and how Wolverine, and when they finally do, make good on the comic book origin by having him square off against the Hulk, which means if it's a Wolverine origin movie, having Mark Ruffalo cameo, and it can be super simple, just a simple narrative or plot device. One of them's in search of X, Y, and Z, and the other one happens to be standing between them and it, and they don't even have to remain long-term adversaries. Enemies can become friends right off the rip, right after that act, if you will. We all just want to see this comic book origin and a battle that will surely be epic when it finally hits the MCU. Now, I'm sure you all heard this past weekend when Hugh Jackman weighed in what seems like for the final time, saying that yes, he would have retained his role as Wolverine entering the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's just that Disney and Marvel Studios acquired the rights a little too late, and when he and Sir Patrick Stewart both watched their iterations of the character die during Logan, that was the nail in the coffin, both figuratively and literally, for him playing the character. And it's just as well, we'll get a brand new Wolverine who has at least a decade ahead of him in the MCU, but he is the character for which this all hinges. Until they know how and what they're doing with Wolverine and in what capacity, what storyline will best suit him, there's no way that he could ever show up in the MCU, and that's not something they could rush. And it seems like Marvel Studios has put the X-Men on the back burner for just a little bit. We know we're getting an iteration of the Fantastic Four first, but much different than the way they're going to do the Fantastic Four is we're not going to be getting a solo Reed Richards or a solo Human Torch movie. They're going to be a team right off the rip. They're going to do this more like they did the Avengers for the X-Men and start introducing these characters one by one, meaning a Wolverine solo movie, and very soon could absolutely be the case if the X-Men are still 3 or 4 years off. And as soon as we get that, well, then you can be sure you're going to see him square off against Hulk on the big screen. It's an inevitability, and like I said back in 2018, something that Marvel Studios would want to highly prioritize if ever they got the chance, and well, they finally have the chance. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you mirror my sentiment in this being one of the one things you want to see the most on the big screen? And what are your expectations for Wolverine? Who would you like to most see cast, and how would you introduce him into the MCU? Guys, I'm all ears. Leave all that down in the comments below, and quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. We're still giving away 2 PlayStation 4 Pros, the next of which is at the 650,000 subscriber mark. We are headlong into that. We'll easily hit that by month's end. All you have to do, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell, leave a like and a comment on this video, and that'll automatically enter you to win all the prizes here at the channel, including the limited edition Infinity Saga box set. We gave the first one away on New Year's Eve. We'll be giving the second one away on the 2nd anniversary of the channel near the end of April, on April 29th. That's just a week and a half away. If you want to get entered to win either of the PlayStations, the limited edition Infinity Saga box set, or any of the other prizes we'll be announcing this year here at the channel, all the same rules will always apply. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell with notifications turned on, leave a like and a comment on this video, and because it's truly random, the more videos you like and comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, and if you've missed any of those past winner announcements, including the 2 random PlayStation 4 Pros we gave away this week. That's on the separate Mark Ruffalo Hulk video from earlier last week. No worries, all you have to do, scroll back through the channel, look for winner announcement in the sub count of every title. I always include it. Click on that video, scroll to the end. My name's Michael Roman. This is Everything Always, guys. Thanks so much for checking out the channel and stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.